this situated. Happy Friday, guys. Okay. I'm gonna wait just a minute. I went on here early because I want to be able to give y'all a second. All the algorithm here going on with Facebook, it's kind of weird. So I wanted to go on just a second early so you see me. Are y'all ready for Memorial Day? I love summer. Are y'all like that? I love summer. I don't really love the heat, but it's part of it, so I'll deal with it. But I love spring and summer. So Memorial Day is our way of just kind of easing on in. And I don't know about y'all, but I have already been grilling peaches on the grill and grilling my chicken and making Jean Howard salads, grilled peach and chicken salad. Have you liked that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's so weird. As you pop on here, say hey. It's so weird. It's like the people, I can't see the eyes, so I need to know when you pop on here, say, hey, Amy, I'm here. So I want to be able to, I want to see you first. I want to see you first before I start going into this. Okay, there we go. Hey, Charlotte. So as you pop on here, guys, just say, hey, I want to make sure that I can see you guys before I get started. And I was doing something just a second ago, and I thought, you know what? I need to tell them. Y'all are just the sweetest group. I always joke about this because I say we're all sisters from another mother, and nothing against the guys, because I know that there are guys that watch too, usually because they've got some woman going, some bride or some friend saying, I need you to help me do this. Hey, Mary. Hey, Becky. Hey, Robin. Okay, good deal. But I just was thinking about this earlier, and I thought, what a kind and loving and encouraging group we have. And I want you guys to know how much that means to me, because like when I go shopping or when I find something, and it's so funny, we'll like go in and I'll see it and I'll tell Jean, I'm like, I need to show them. Like I need to show them why I'm buying this, how much I got it for, you know, all those type things. And what's so fun is y'all get into it just as much as I do. And that just makes my day. Well, hey, Montana. Well, don't you have the cutest name ever? Hey, Jacqueline. Okay. Woohoo. All right, Bobby. All right. So are y'all ready to get started? Now, today I'm going to be showing you something I've never shown you before. I've never shown you how to do this before. I don't know. Y'all are like, why is she whispering? Isn't whispering kind of fun if you know that there's a secret? Hey, Bobby's already sharing it. Hey, Margaret from Oxford. Hey, AJ. All right, so I want to show you something. I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing. All right, now, I don't know if it shows up. I want to see. Now, I will tell you, here's the caveat. My board that this is done on. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Cassidy. My board that this is done on is a little streaky. You're going to be able to see it. There's a uneven grain to it. But let me see if I can. I want you to be able to see the embossing. I'm going to show you today. Does that kind of help? Fantasy Nap, plaster and milk paint. You're talking my type of fantasy. It is, girl. Don't you know? It's the two best products that go together. And here's the other thing. You know, and I know this. I'm gonna take you through the process. I know this when you go online or when you're on YouTube or whatever, that it can feel like you just go into the creative abyss and you get very confused. Part of my reasoning in doing this, a lot of people will be like, Amy, you're growing a company. You're the CEO of Amy Howard at Home and a Maker Studio. And a lot of my world is developing new products that I can show you. And we have so many new introductions coming. I can't wait. My staff is going to kill me if I tell you. So my lips are sealed. But if I create something and I'm really excited about it, but you, my customer, you don't get excited about it and you don't know how to use it, then I failed. So for me to be able to spend this time to be able to tell you why I created something, what it can do, and then how you can use it to be able to make your life more beautiful, then that's kismet as far as I'm concerned. All right, so what I'm going to show you today is a process, so kind of buckle in, and I'm ready. I've got my apron on, and I look like I'm be cleaning my house a little bit, but that's okay. That way I don't get paint on me. But I'm going to walk you through several steps, and don't let the steps overwhelm you, because the steps are what allows us to be able to get, one, the depth, the texture, and the patina. Now, here's something else. If you're, of course, if you're catching me for the first time, please say, hey, oh my goodness, I don't know who that was just from New Orleans. I was just telling T here in the studio that Jean and I are planning a trip to New Orleans. I have a dear friend, sweet, 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 sweet woman. I mean, I love her. Her name is Tara Shaw. She lives in New Orleans, and she has a fantastic antique shop, and she and I are mothers from a different mother. Sisters from a different mother. I love Tara Shaw. So we plan on going to New Orleans to see her. All right, so the whole idea of patina. We cannot get a beautiful patina if we don't have layering. It's impossible. So the idea of just being able to put a little bit of paint on something and just being able to maybe put a little wax on it, it's not going to allow you to get depth. Does it allow you to rescue something? Yes. Does it allow you to restore it? Yes. But I want to take you further. I'm bringing you into the world of really upping your level of connoisseurship, so that way you can start to understand things. As you look at it, you start to dissect it, and you start thinking, what were the steps in that? If I can do that for you, then I have succeeded. So the ability to be able to start seeing things when you go into an antique shop, and to be quite frank, it's unaffordable. Like, I can't afford it. I can't bring myself to paying what a lot of the antiques are running. So, to be quite honest with you, I looked online last night and I had no idea. I don't want to say the name of the company. I'll say it starts with an R and it has 2 letters. That's all I'm going to say. But I couldn't believe that nightstands were $3,000. I told Jean, I was like, this is unfathomable, because I have lived in the thrifting world and consignment shop world for so long. That's kind of where my brain goes. So I'm going to take you through the process today in this finish of learning how to be able to do an embossed finish. And why? Well, it's like, why would I want to teach you that? Because the whole part of having a beautiful finish is, what's one of the first things somebody does? You touch it. Your hands go up and you start running your hands across the finish. And if the color is going to draw you in first, the texture is going to draw you in second. Because when you see the color, when you see the finish, when you see the composition, when you see how it's worn, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this, what's the next thing you do? You're going to go up and you're going to touch it. And so if I can sit there and I can touch this, and if it follows up to my expectation, I'm sold. Then I'm going to be figuring out a way how to be able to buy it. So a lot of you that are doing finishes on furniture, and you're doing this as a side hustle, as something that you want to be able to make a little bit of money, whether to pay for braces or private school or a vacation or a new car, you can do that. So I'm not gonna talk anymore. I'm gonna stop. I know, don't you love Tara? Yes, Tara Shaw's so great. Y'all know me, I'm a talker, and I think that's why I'm a teacher. So let's go on and get started. Are you ready? So here's the deal. As you pop on here and we're doing this, share this video, tag your good friends that love to create and love to make. And I know Mary Corrado, my sister from another mother, I just love you, Mary Corrado, I just want us to, learn the process together. So I'm gonna, what's app number? Okay, so here's the other deal. Share this video, tag some good friends, your name will go in for a drawing, and then on Tuesday of next week, we'll announce the winner, and I'm gonna send you free products. So all you have to do in order to win, you just share the video. So I'm excited about that because we have such a beautiful tribe. All right, are y'all ready to get started? Get your notepads, make some notes, and then you can watch this video. It will stay housed on the Amy Howard at Home website and Facebook, and then it will also be on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and you can watch it over and over and over. Oliver, are you just the sweetest thing? Thank you so much. That's so sweet. All right, so I'm gonna turn this around. Here we go. Here we go. All right, so let's make sure. I hadn't turned it around yet, have I? Here we go. Hold on, technical difficulties. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to be working with 3 products today. A little bit more, but these are my main ones. So I'm going to be working with my Toscana milk paints and my Venetian plaster. So the two colors that I'm going to be working with in the milk paint are Central Park and Provincial Yellow. Now, I will tell you, you can go up to the link on this Facebook post, and what we do as a gift to our amazing customers, on Friday we have a code that the products that I'm showing you how to use, we give you a discount code for it. So that way, I want you to go and recreate these finishes yourself, and the best way to do it at home is to be able to watch this video, buy the products, and then that way you can recreate it. So I'm going to be working with Provincial Yellow and Central Park. Now the great thing about it is these are complementary colors. When you're looking at adding depth, you want to make sure that the colors, one's going to be a little brighter, one's going to be a little bit darker. This yellow, the Provincial Yellow, is going to be the base that I'm going to be working with, and the Central Park is going to go on top of it. That's a little clue right now what we're going to be doing. The other thing is the Venetian plaster is going to be what I'm going to use to do my embossing. It is a much thicker consistency. Of course, you can make it thinner. I'm going to show you today how we're going to make it thinner. We're going to make it thicker, so that way it will literally act as a three-dimensional aspect. So the other thing is, let's go on, and I'm going to start with a regular board. Now, let's say your piece of furniture, you already have a factory finish on it. You've bought something at Resort Resale, you've gone to Habitat, and it's already got a factory finish on it. Don't worry about it. What I want you to do is you can come back and you can let this be your first coat, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people don't know. They think that milk paint can't be put on top of an existing finish. It can. So we're going to add something to it that it's going to make it that way. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and take my milk paint. Part of the reason why, and a lot of you are going to watch this later, but part of the reason why we work with milk paint, I only mix up what I need at the time. Because what is it? It's milk. Milk is going to go bad. If you make a big batch and you leave it out, it will sour. So I can mix up enough and for about 2 weeks and put it in the fridge in a Tupperware container, let it get to room temperature, stir it back up. But as a rule, when I'm painting a piece of furniture and I'm going to be working for a couple of days, I'm fine. I can mix up what I need. So when I'm working with the milk paint, I'm going to mix up a 1-to-1. So I'm going to go in and put my powder in like this. Close it back up. And then I'm going to just go on and add some water. Now, those of you, and I'm repeating this, and I know I have a lot of you that have, you've even become teachers yourself, but I try to mix up my milk paint to where it's easier. I can get the granules all mixed up like this if I do just a little bit of water. So I'll get this mixed up really well, and you can use an immersion blender if you want to. Please don't put it in a food blender and put it on frappe, because then you're going to get foam. We do not want to paint with foam. So make sure that you make it thick like this, and then go on and add additional water to thin it down. Here's something else that I want you to make sure that you remember. When you're working with milk paint, it's not about making it really thick. It's not about having a whole lot of coverage. Especially if we want to go back and antique it later, we need to make sure the consistencies are correct. So it's 1 part water to 1 part milk paint. Are you right? Are everybody with me? All right, so now we're going to do something. We're going to add something, because I need my milk paint that I'm going to be putting on here as my first coat to not go anywhere. I'm going to be coming on top of it to emboss it. I'm going to be coming on top of it to do some antiquing and to lay another color, my Central Park, on top of it, that I need to make sure that it's not going anywhere. So what do I do? Anybody have an idea? I'm going to add my Toscana milk binder. The Toscana milk paint binder is going to make it to where my Central Park, or my Provincial Yellow that I'm mixing up, isn't going to go anywhere. So this is a big. If some of you are like, I had no idea, I can add the Toscana binder and paint it directly on top of a piece that I thrifted, and I don't have to put the one step on first. Are y'all with me? In this technique. Now, if you're going to antique it, it's a totally different thing. So I'm going to go on. Once I mix up my milk paint, I've got my consistency to where it's 1 part water, 1 part milk paint. Now I'm going to add the equal amount of the binder. So let's say if you made a cup of milk paint like this, mixed up wet, you're going to add a cup of binder, because that's now going to allow you to be able to paint any surface and it's going to adhere. I bet some of you are going, I had no idea. And maybe you knew it at one time and you just kind of forgot. But now I will tell you, because I'm working with a smaller amount like this, when I add a lot of the binder, it will have a tendency to change my coloring. So you need to make sure that you take that into consideration. All right, so now I made some up before we went live. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on and we're going to paint on our first coat of our provincial yellow. So, and it's got my binder in it, so that way it's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to brush this on. And remember, when you're working with milk paint, because it's thin, even with the binder in it, I want to make sure that I'm working on a flat surface. So if I'm working on a drawer or a door, I'm going to make sure that it's laying flat. And the nice thing about it is it's going to dry fairly quickly. If you want to speed the process up of it drying, all you have to do is hit it with a hairdryer. And I'm going to do that really quickly. I want you to be able to see it dry. Isn't it funny? We're a funny group. We like to watch paint dry. All right, so let's just do that for just a second. I want you to see. It'll start to set. I'm going to do just a little bit of color. Now, I will tell you, different woods, if you're working on raw woods, are going to be different colors. Let me speed this up just a little bit. Guys, as you pop on here, be sure and say hey. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Be sure and share this video. That way your name is going to go in for a drawing. And we're going to be giving away the products next Tuesday after Memorial Day. All right, so I wanted you to see, as it dries down, kind of how this color is going to change. But here's where I'm going with this. Look at this Central Park color. See how complementary it is with this? This is going to be so pretty showing through my Central Park. Now, I've got one that I did just a little bit earlier, and it's a larger board, so it allows me to be able to show you kind of the next step, and it's a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do, after I work with mixing my binder into my first coat of my milk paint, because I don't want this going anywhere, that's why I did the binder, I'm now going to add a stencil. Now, because a lot of us, we're creative, but maybe we're not artistic. Maybe we can't draw per se. So these stencils come in really handy. This one is called But First Flowers. That's the name of the stencil that I'm working with. So if you've not worked with my mesh stencils, I'm going to basically take this away from the backing. It's adhesive, so it's going to stick. And look at that. You can see through it. So where you can see, and there's not the dark gray, that's where my plaster is going to show up. So I'm going to lay this down. And if I'm working on a large piece of furniture, now this would be a fantastic finish on a drawer. If you've got a little 3-drawer nightstand, you can, the images, as far as the designs, will marry up. So I'm just going to lay that down. You see, all I have to do is run my hand across it like that, and it's going to adhere. Now, the next thing I need to do is I'm going to have my Venetian plaster. Now, you can, the plaster is a powder as well. You know, this is a formula that we have, has been around for thousands of years. It was used in Italy. That's by the Venetians. No pun intended. I mean, literally, the Venetians created this. It's a combination of calcium carbonate, lime, and marble dust. That's it. It only has 3 ingredients. Calcium carbonate, which is chalk, lime, and marble dust. So the marble dust is what allows you to be able to get the sheen if you want to come back and burnish it. But for me, I can use it to be able to create beautiful embossing as well. So now, I wanted you to see, this has been mixed up with water, and I came back kind of like I did the milk paint, and I want you to see how thick it is. Now, it's like a little dollop. Look how thick. See how long it's taking for that to drop down in there? It's much thicker than sour cream. What would you equate this to, Jean? What's a food or what's something, as far as the consistency? Pudding? It's even a little bit thicker than pudding, because pudding would drop. But it's a pretty thick consistency. So when you put the Venetian plaster in your cup, I want you to add just a little bit of water and start mixing it. And make sure that you get all of the granules mixed together, and this is going to be about the consistency of your plaster in order to create an embossing. So I'm just going to put this here, and I'm going to use our spreaders. We have this on the site, so that way you can use those. You can use a squeegee or a spreader. And I'm just going to lay my plaster that I've mixed up down like this on the edge. And this is going to be the side that I'm going to be working on, and I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to be pressing it through this mesh pretty hard. Now, I will say this. You do want to make sure that you build it up, and you can do 2 to 3, 4 passes with this without washing it. Again, you can have this lined up, you can take it off, meet it right next here, and continue on depending on how long your drawer is or the piece of furniture that you're working on. You know what? This would even be a really cool finish on a piece of art. You could do a fragment piece. You could do this on a caproni plaster. It's endless. It's a sickness. Do you see why? That's it's like, that's why it's so fun to create. All right, so now I'm just taking my Venetian plaster, and it's pretty heavy. It's not like, I want to have some left over on here so it's raised. So I'm going to be putting it on fairly thick. Guys, as you pop on here, please say hey and tell me where you're tuning in from and ask me questions. Jean and I and T, we will go back and we're going to look through your questions and make sure that we answer them, because I want you to be successful. So I'm just loading this up again and working my way across. And I am working fairly quickly. I don't want this to dry in my stencil. And I'm not scraping it too hard. I'll do just another pass. I want to make sure I'm kind of spreading it out. I noticed a couple little granules didn't get mixed up, so they're trying to take away my joy. See that? I'm not going to let it do it. All right, so let's see what we've got going on here. I want to check it. There we go. Look, do you see that? Now, I'll check it a lot of times and just make sure that it's all going through, and I'm happy, so it's good. So I wanted you to be able to see. So now my plaster has gone through my stencil. I'm going to hand this off. I've already got one done. So that way I can hit it with a hairdryer, and it's going to be, can you see that? When I rub my hands across this, it is absolutely, positively yummy, dreamy. Because I don't want to sand it. I am not going to sand this. I need this because the whole point is that it's embossed. Now, do you see this, guys? Do you see this? How fab this would be on a little nightstand, a drawer. This is such an elegant, beautiful finish. So pretty. Now what are we going to do? The plaster's not going to go anywhere. It's dried. 10 minutes, it's dried. It's got a beautiful embossing on it. Now I'm going to put my color on top of it. I'm going to mix my Central Park, and I'm going to sandwich it. So we can almost say, as an Oreo cookie, the first layer, the outside layer of the Oreo cookie, was my Provincial Yellow milk paint with binder. Remember? That was first. Second, we did just what we did with our embossing with the Venetian plaster. And now third, on top that we're sandwiching, we're going to go in and mix up our Central Park. But listen to me, this is a really good note to make. We are not going to add binder to the Central Park. Why? It's our top coat. The binder, we put the binder on so it would stick because we're doing all this stuff on top of it. We didn't want it to release. But now, because I'm going to use this from an antiquing perspective, I am not going to add the binder to the top coat. So I'm just gonna take, if you've not done this before, let me see. I wanna make sure that I've got a spoon. That is, could I get another spoon real quick? When you mix your milk paint, as a rule, it's gonna be 1 part water to 1 part paint. So as you're mixing it, like I did before, I'll put in a little bit of my milk paint, like this. Let me put just a little bit more. And then, as I shared with you a while ago, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. Again, on this particular color on my top coat, I am not going to add binder. Need just a little bit more. And I'm gonna mix this up really good. Look at that color. Is that the most yummy color? It's one of my favorites. Again, this is Central Park. Look at this blue. Look at that. All right, so I did one earlier. I wanted it to make sure that my little granules were all mixed up. And it's right here. So now, one thing you need to remember with milk paint is it doesn't have the chemicals and the additives in it and the anti-separating agents because we need it in its purest form. This is the formulation on this paint is what has been around for thousands of years. It's like shopping in the grocery aisle, and it makes it so easy. You don't have to worry. There are no VOCs in this. There's nothing to worry about. There's no fumes. It's very natural, and it allows you to be able to manipulate it because it's not an acrylic base, it's a casein base. So now I'm gonna take my sample that we did the provincial yellow and the Venetian plaster on, and I'm gonna paint it. So I'm gonna go on and just take one of my chip brushes. It's my favorite when I'm working with milk paint as far as a brush. I wanna make sure all of my yummy stuff down is up from the bottom. And now we're gonna cover it entirely. I'm gonna paint directly on top of it. Now, do you see why I put the binder in the base? Because if I hadn't have put the binder, what would be happening right now? Do y'all know? It would cause the base color to release. Because part of the reason why the beauty, what we're able to do with milk paint is we're able to use our antiquing glaze and water and release it. So I'm going completely over this because I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna antique it, and I wanna be able to pull out that base color. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And I love this because it dries oh so quickly. Just wanna make sure I've got good coverage. I'm gonna come back. Yes, I want to dry this just a little bit because I want you to be able to see how the color changes. That's not going to be what it's going to look like. It's going to go considerably lighter. So let's dry it just a minute. I'm going to stay focused in this area up here because I want you to be able to see it as it dries. Again, the process, we did provincial yellow with the Toscana binder first. Then we did our Venetian plaster in a very thick consistency with our stencil. The stencil that I'm using today is called But First Flowers. Look how it's starting to dry. Do you see how that color changes? See how it's starting to change? And you can see the detail on there a little bit. But so this is the color wet. This is what it looks like when you mixed it, but when you go and it starts to dry down, it's going to go lighter. But here's something that's interesting you may not be thinking of. Is the fact that when I come back and I add my antiquing glaze and my wax, it's gonna go a little darker again, but it will not go back to that light color. All right, so now I've got one that is dry. And this is dried down. It's got my 3 steps on it. So now what am I gonna do? I'm gonna antique it. So I'm gonna take my antiquing glaze. And again, all of this is water-based. And I'm also gonna be using a tool that I've shown y'all many times before. I'm gonna be working with a seawell sponge. Now, the top of this sponge is very prickly. This is not the part that you want to paint with. Let's flip it over. Look. See how the openness of this is the part of the sponge you want to use. If you've got one of those big sponges, maybe in your bathroom, or don't use it again with your soap in your tub. That becomes an art brush if you want to use that. But I usually will cut them up into 3 different pieces. So first thing you need to do is look how hard this is. Can y'all kind of tell on camera? It's really stiff and really hard. We need to put it back into water. Let me get some water. So I'm going to pop this in water. I need to make sure that I get the sponge back into its natural state. Now see how much more pliable it is now? So much better. All right, so now I'm going to take my antiquing glaze, and I say this as a caveat, and I joke, but I'm being serious when I tell you this. My very analytical people, raise your hand. I don't want you to go in rows. When you go to antique this, I don't want it in rows. I want you to start in the upper left-hand corner, and go down kind of at a 45-degree angle and then fill it in. Because what that will do is that will help you from just creating these lines. We need it to be organic looking when we're antiquing, and I promise you're going to be much happier with the end result. So now I'm going to come in up here, and I'm just going to start laying this down. What are you noticing that's happening? Okay, look. Look, what do you see? What do you see? Somebody tell me. I'm seeing the provincial yellow that I put on first. It's allowing me to be able to get that depth. How do we get depth of that patina? We're going to be able to get that by creating the antiquing process and layering. OMG, what a pretty color. Pretty. The other thing you're going to see, look here. Look. What is that? Now you're seeing the plaster. The plaster is going to be white. Is that not yummy? Now, don't overdo this part. Here's what I'm going to say. A lot of you are like, okay, I'm going to antique that some more. Please listen to me. When you're antiquing, just do it lightly the first time, dry it. Because guess what? You can come back again and again and antique this. Look how I'm moving down. See, I'm not doing, the analytical member of our family is not me. It is Jean Howard. So I am just trying to make sure that I am getting some distressing, that I'm seeing my color come through. I am in love with this color combo. Provincial yellow and Central Park. In love. All right, so I'm gonna stop, and y'all are with me. We're gonna dry this, and we're gonna see what it looks like. Are y'all ready? All right, so here's my testy faithful hair dryer. Here we go. And I'm so sorry for having a hair dryer, but you know what? Oh, Cokie, you just made my day, girl. You got it. Oh my gosh. Oh, y'all don't know what that does to me. That makes me so happy that you're getting it. And I feel really bad that you have to listen to this hair dryer. There's no way for me to take it away. But sometimes the process, would y'all agree, tell me, the process of you being able to see it dry, does that help? And I know it's kind of a pain, and you're like, great, we got to sit here and listen to her run her mouth and have this hair dryer. But I think it is helpful for letting you see the process. Y'all tell me that you think it is. So I'm sorry, I am going to have to dry all of this to take y'all to the next step. And hopefully you're able to kind of see the composition and what we're going for. See that color? See how natural it is and how it's coming through? If I had have done it very vertical or very horizontal, it will antique that way. And again, I'm sorry, but I've got to dry this. We're almost finished. Hang with me. If you're just now popping on and you're catching us, oh, Jean's got another hair dryer. We got 2 going here. Here we go. We're almost there. It's letting you see that color dry down. Almost there. Okay. All right. Here we go. Ta-da. So sorry, that's so painful. All right, so now, this isn't very pretty, but we're getting there. But I want you to be able to see. See why it was important that I didn't distress it too much on the first pass? And we call that a pass when we're doing it. Because when I go back and I start now adding my waxes, it's going to darken it more. And the other thing that it's going to do, it's going to create more contrast. And I want to make sure that I didn't take off too much of the central part, that it was a situation to where I wanted to be able to have my provincial yellow peeking through. So now what are we going to do? We're going to take some light antique wax. I will tell you, I've got stuff on my hands. Jean, can you help me open this? It's a good thing I've got Jean right by me. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to need to be working with my light antique wax and my dark antique wax. Now, while I've got you, I'm going to go on and let you open that one too. I've shared with you, I always like to have two brushes. I have one brush for my light antique wax and I have one brush for my dark. Why is that? Because if I try to skimp and I try to have one brush and I do both, basically I'm going to be mixing this with this dark wax and it's going to make a third color, and that's not desirable. I want this to both stay in their purest form. So I'm going to start first with the light antique wax. I'm going to load it up. Now you can work with a synthetic brush on this if you want. You can also work with a chip brush, and I'll always offload. So I load it up and then offload it. That evenly distributes it. Now I'm going to start again. Where did we do when we were antiquing? We started in the upper left-hand corner and we work our way down like this at a 45-degree angle, kind of spreading it out. We're going to do the same thing when we're waxing. The same thing we did when we were antiquing. So the other thing is, remember, I'm moving my wrist. So one thing I'm going to start to notice that's going to happen, I'm going to do a little bit of section I want you to see. What are you seeing automatically? Can you tell? That provincial yellow is popping through. Look at this side before the wax. See how the depth is creating the depth and the color, and now I can see the subtlety of that provincial yellow. Let's load it back up again. Let's offload it again, and let's keep working our way across. Look at my wrist. It's going back and forth. I'm checking it out at each step along the way. I'm seeing the color. I'm seeing how dark it's getting. It's allowing me to be able to see. Now, once I'm at this point, once I'm at this stage and I am putting my wax and I'm getting my depth, I can't come back once I've put the wax on to try to take some off with my antiquing glaze. This is my last step, but I am so pleased. Again, my piece of wood, the way it was cut at the mill, it's got all these really bad lines in it, and that's kind of hindering from this being really pretty. If I was working on a piece of furniture, I wouldn't have the lines in it because I wouldn't have those saw marks. Now, I wanted you to see, look at the half. Look at the part that I've put the wax on. Do you see the difference between the part that has not been waxed? Is that not yummy? Look at that. So already we're starting to see the depth of the color. Over here, we don't. Just the wax is going to make a major transformation. Y'all are so fun. Y'all are so fun. All right, so let's finish. Let's keep going. Look at that. Now there's degrees. It's not about this all being the same. Look at this one. Can you see the depth of the embossing? See why the embossing just takes us to a whole new level? And it's just as simple as being able to use your plaster. Plaster and milk paint, they love each other. They just love each other. They work beautifully together. And the other thing is, if you look at a true antique, they're never going to wear evenly on the whole thing. You've got to be able to think about how it would have been worn. The other thing is, I don't know if you can tell, my brush isn't loaded up with too much wax. Some of you use way too much wax. And one of these containers should last you weeks. Now, if you're flipping furniture, you might use one of these every 6 pieces of furniture. That should take you that far. So I'm offloading it, and I'm wanting to make sure that I've got real control over how much wax I'm putting on. So now the next thing I need to do, finishing up here, hang with me. Y'all are the most patient group. All right, so I'm touching it. It's a little warm in my studio, and I tried to make sure that I didn't put too much of the light wax on, because if this is wet and if this is greasy, and if I can touch it and it's going to move around, when I come back and I put on the dark wax, it's just going to look like a mess. I've got to make sure this comes to tack. If I'm not going to add any dust of ages, I can leave this and I can come back to it tomorrow or next week or next Saturday or whatever. It's not going to affect it. You don't have to wax the light wax and the dark wax at the same time. So just make sure that it's come to tack, T-A-C-K, and that way you are going to not be working with going in with a dark wax, making a third color. So now we've got our brush just for dark wax. Those of you that have taken from me before or in my inner circle, you know this. What are we going to do? We're going to come around the outside first. I don't know why it is human nature. A lot of people go right to the center. Please don't do that. Start on the outside first. So let's think, if this was a drawer, if this is a door, I'm going to be haloing the outside, and I'm going to feather the outside in all the way around. So let's do it. Let me pull that down a little bit so you can see it. It's a dusting. Very, very little dark wax. Very, very little. Very, very. I mean, like, people overdo this all the time. I'll turn this around just to kind of help you. Let's load it up again. Guys, as you pop on here, say hey. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I love your comments. I love your questions. Now you see how that's starting to change the color, and now I'm going to work my way into the center. Very little, offloading it every time. That color, yum, yum, yum. I just wish that saw that went through that. See, I don't know if y'all can see that. That saw mark going through there is bugging me. It would be so much prettier if I wasn't dealing with that. But again, if you were doing a piece of furniture, you're not going to have that saw mark. Love, love, love. All right, so I made sure that I put that on fairly light. I'm going to put on some gloves. Hold on just a second. If you get these gloves off of Amazon, I have to make sure that I get the extra large. I've just got really big hands. But I usually try to put these gloves on when I'm going to start working with my dust of ages. So that's my next step. And it's also giving me a minute to let my wax. Gee whiz, I don't know why I'm having trouble. That's so funny. Hang with me. Happy Friday. If you're just now popping on. All right. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dust of ages, and I'm just going to take a little bit with my gloves. Part of the reason why I wanted to be able to have that. I'm going to sprinkle it just kind of here and there. And then I'm going to rub it in everywhere. Now, please make sure when you're at this point, you want to make sure that your dark wax is pretty much set up and that it's come to tack. Now, why am I rubbing this in with my gloves? A lot of y'all are like, why is she doing that? One, I've got a two-dimensional finish going on here. And I want to make sure that I get this on top and that I'm getting it down into where I can see the embossing. So now after I've got it everywhere, I'm going to start coming back and I'm going to start buffing it. I wished you were here with me in person so you could see this. I'm going to try to get a little section. So the more you start to buff this, what you're going to see is you're going to see more and more of a sheen. Something else you can do that I was playing with earlier is I used some of my gold embellishing wax, and I can come back and literally lay in just a little bit of this gold after I do my dust. If you want to have just a little bit of metallic, that's up to you, but I played with it. But I want to buff this out. I want you to be able to see. I just love that provincial yellow peeking through. Such a great color combo. But the other thing is I want you to be thinking, what are some other color combinations that you could do? And you see all of it all the way around the board isn't the same. Can you see that? Does that allow you to be able to see that embossing? Is that yummy? Look at that. All right. Oh, Montana, you're just so precious. Look at that. Isn't that fab? Fab, fab, fab. So, let's turn this around. Let me see. Will it work? Hold on. I think I might have to take my glove off. Now, ta-da! Oh, what do you think? Love the dimensions. Yes. Oh, y'all are so sweet. Thank you. Do you like, look, what do you think of the color combo? Is that not fab? Pink and green. Totally, totally. Yeah, I mean, like, think about all of the color combinations that you want to be able to create. And it really does give a beautiful look. Just seeing all your comments. Y'all are the best. I just love you. Love you guys. Hey, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sparkles. Thank you, Sparkle. Thank you, Cassidy. All right, so go back. Do this for your friends that love to create like you. Share this video. Tag your good creative friends that you love. And take advantage of the code that you'll get. Just go to the top of this post, and that way you can take advantage and get the code. And the exciting thing is too, we have a Memorial Day sale that starts tomorrow. So go to my YouTube channel, go through and watch some of them and things that you want to be able to do. And then that way you can go and take advantage of our Memorial Day sale. And I hope that you can truly do something that you love. If you don't have plans yet, call up some good friends or call some family members and get that grill going and sit outside and let's enjoy the entrance of summer and slowing down and doing projects outside. I love this so much. Y'all are the best. Thank you, Sandra. Y'all have a fantastic day and happy Friday. Mwah.